Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the financial detective's playbook and taking what might seem like a really dry concept, horizontal analysis, and turning it into an absolutely crucial, high-stakes investigative tool. Whether you're an exam candidate trying to nail down financial statement analysis or a working professional looking to sharpen those forensic accounting skills, you are exactly where you need to be. We're going to look way beyond the static, lifeless numbers of a balance sheet or an income statement. Instead, we'll learn how to uncover the hidden stories and those glaring warning signs that only reveal themselves over time.
So, here is our quick agenda for today. We'll start by defining trend analysis. Then we'll lock in our base years, hunt for some major red flags, run through a few rapid-fire mini-scenarios, and finally, wrap up by reviewing the common rookie mistakes that always seem to trap exam candidates. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's just dive right in.
Section 1. Intro to Trend Analysis. Think of this as the financial detective's magnifying glass. Okay, so what exactly are we talking about here? Horizontal common size analysis, which is frequently just called trend analysis on exams, is a method that helps us detect growth, decline, and just totally unusual volatility in the numbers. You see, when we look at standard financial statements, we usually just see raw dollar amounts. But here's the thing, raw dollars can be incredibly noisy. By using horizontal common size analysis, we're converting those raw numbers into percentages. We express later year amounts as a percentage of a base year amount and track them horizontally across multiple years. It's a real game changer because it takes a static snapshot and turns it into a moving, breathing picture of a company's actual financial trajectory.
Now you might be wondering, who actually uses this stuff? Well, pretty much everyone with skin in the game. Financial analysts, company managers, independent auditors, investors, and lenders all rely on these patterns. They use them to predict future performance based on past results and to figure out lending or investment risks. For instance, a manager might use trend analysis to see if their operating expenses are slowly creeping out of control. An independent auditor? They're using it to flag areas that need a much deeper dive for potential fraud. And an investor or a lender relies on these exact trends to answer the ultimate question. Is this business actually sustainable, or is the risk profile secretly expanding behind the scenes?
Let's move to Section 2, Setting the Base Year, or as I like to call it, dropping the anchor.
The entire mechanic of trend analysis relies on one simple step, taking a base year amount and assigning it the absolute value of 100%. Think of this as your financial starting line. Every single subsequent year is going to be measured relative to this anchor. So if a line item in year 2 calculates out to 120%, you instantly know, boom, it grew by 20% from your starting point. It makes comparing completely different size companies or analyzing massive intimidating numbers literally as easy as pie.
Let's look at this in action with a quick example from Amy's Market. We drop our anchor at year 1, setting both net sales and cost of goods sold to 100%. Fast forward to year 4, and sales have more than doubled to 214%. By year 5, we can instantly spot explosive growth where sales totally quadruple to 400%. And what's really important here is that the cost of goods sold is trailing right alongside it, hitting around 392%. Take a second to really appreciate how clean this is. We don't even need to know if Amy's Market is pulling in thousands or billions of dollars. The percentages tell us the exact growth story.
All right, Section 3, Spotting Financial Red Flags. This is what happens when expected relationships break down.
You see, financial statements have a predictable rhythm. It means if one specific account rises, we naturally expect a related account to rise along with it. We call this the if this then that framework. You can't just look at these line items in total isolation because a business is an interconnected system, right? If you manufacture and sell more products, you inherently have to spend more money buying the raw materials to make those products. It's just common sense.
And this breakdown brilliantly illustrates the chapter's prime example. As the net sales climb steadily over 6 years, the cost of goods sold rises right alongside it to support that increased volume. This parallel growth, this is exactly what an auditor or an analyst is hoping to see. It's a healthy, completely expected relationship that backs up the story management is telling us about their sales volume.
But what happens if this expected relationship breaks? Well, that is a massive red flag. It points straight to a potential material misstatement or some deeper business issue that absolutely requires further audit procedures. Just imagine looking at a trend analysis where sales are up 50% from the base year, but cost of goods sold is just sitting there at a flat 0% increase. The numbers on the page are literally screaming that something is wrong. A company doesn't just magically double its output without taking on any additional direct costs. No way.
Okay, let's put you in the hot seat with Section 4, Investigating Mini Scenarios.
Let's open up the case files. Here's your first rapid-fire scenario. Think about what it means if a company claims to be selling double the product, but their expenses for buying that product haven't moved an inch. As we just discussed, this totally breaks our fundamental if this, then that rule.
We call this the case of the missing COGS, and auditors would immediately suspect a few things: a material misstatement, fake sales revenue, or unrecorded inventory expenses. Maybe the company is aggressively recognizing revenue for sales that haven't even happened yet, just to hit some quarterly targets. Or maybe they actually did make those sales, but they're intentionally hiding the supplier invoices in a desk drawer so their profits look artificially huge. Either way, trend analysis just caught them red-handed.
All right, let's try another one. What if your trend analysis shows gross profits suddenly doubling in a single year, but there is absolutely no change in sales volume? Now, what's really interesting about this one is it forces you to ask a tough question. Did the company suddenly become incredibly, amazingly efficient overnight, or did they just stop recording their supplier invoices? If sales volume is flat at 100%, but gross profit spikes to 200%, the math guarantees that cost of goods sold plummeted. Did they find a revolutionary cheap supplier, or is there a huge error in how they're valuing their ending inventory?
The bottom line for these case files is this: any fluctuation or relationship that is inconsistent with your expectations demands further investigation before you can rely on those financial statements. As an analyst, your job isn't to just punch in the math, calculate the percentage, and clock out. Your job is to spot the anomaly, flag it, and ask management the really tough questions until you uncover the operational truth behind that variance.
Which brings us to our final part today, Section 5, Common Analyst Mistakes. These are your field hazards.
Let's review the limitations that constantly trip up exam candidates and analysts. First off, you can't just react to every single fluctuation like the sky is falling. You have to evaluate the specific context. For example, if a retail company's inventory jumps 300% in November, that's not a red flag. That's just holiday seasonality. Also, you can't ignore inflation. If a whole country is dealing with 15% inflation, a 15% increase in a company's sales doesn't mean they sold more stuff. It just means the value of the currency changed. And if a company switches their accounting policy, say changing their inventory method from LIFO to FIFO, their trend lines are going to distort entirely, even if the actual day-to-day business hasn't changed one bit. Oh, and never forget to compare those related accounts together.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. True financial detectives know that the percentages are really just the clues. The real skill is figuring out exactly what they reveal about the business. Trend analysis is an incredibly powerful, exam-relevant tool, for sure, but it requires human context, industry knowledge, and a very healthy dose of professional skepticism to use effectively. The next time you're staring down a perfectly formatted spreadsheet, ask yourself, are you simply calculating the math, or are you actually listening to the story those numbers are desperately trying to tell you? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.